What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. I got a friend and a fellow YouTuber, Mr. Bass Kicking Outdoors. He's going to come on the channel, and we're going to do a little behind the reel podcast. And he's got a different spin on this thing. So I'm going to bring him on, and I'm actually going to let him take over the show. Kind of different. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I'm going to bring him on. What up, man?
How's it going, John?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Nothing to complain about today.
Get the kids to bed?
Yep. Kids are in bed and ready to make a podcast.
Heck yeah, man. I'm excited about doing this. Kind of tried to add a little bit of flavor tonight, so it looks a little bit different.
I like it. I like it a
So
lot.
I don't know what attracts me to the pink and stuff, but hey, whatever. It's different.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking setup you got going on.
Yeah, I need to get me one of those signs like you got back there.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah, so I'm Lance Howery, Bass Kicking Outdoors.
You guys know who he is. You've seen him before.
New to the kayaking stuff. I did one tournament with you guys last year.
Yeah.
But I really liked what John was doing with the Behind the Reel podcast. And I was like, hey, why don't I interview you on your own podcast? And so that's what we're doing here tonight. I don't know. Anything you want to say before we get started on questions and stuff?
No, nothing that I really want to say. Just maybe a brief introduction about yourself. So yeah, Bass Kicking Outdoors. He's been on YouTube for a few years or more. It's kind of been getting serious into it in the last couple of years and putting out some pretty cool review videos and does some subscription boxes. And I think he's going to start doing a little bit more on the water stuff. He's going to be doing some tournament stuff. Obviously we're from the same area, and we've got a pretty cool little group of YouTubers around here. So I'm excited about seeing everybody this year out on the water for the Air Capital events.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We got a few YouTubers, and it's going to be cool to see the content afterwards, what we film and what we put together. I think that's going to be exciting. I'm excited to add the tournaments to my channel. I guess a little bit about myself. I started YouTube in 2016, but didn't really pick it up and really try at it till 2019. So that year I grew about 500 or 600 subscribers and got to 1,000 in 2020 and 2,700 right now, going strong. And I really looking forward to the content. A lot more on the water stuff. Got a new kayak. Got one of those autopilots. So got out on the water a couple weeks ago, and that was pretty fun, and excited to get to the first tournament here coming up. But yeah, so I love fishing. I grew up fishing my whole life. We go out to Colorado every year. I used to with my grandpa, and we'd go trout fishing. Probably I was out there before I was even one, and then all the way till I was 18 or something like that, and almost every year. And that's really where I got my passion for fishing, and kind of turned into bass fishing when I got older around here. And it's kind of YouTube channels, just I love to share stuff, and I just grow a community. It's kind of what I love to do, is grow a community. And so it's kind of where I'm doing the Bass Kicking Outdoors thing and seeing what I can grow.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy that we really didn't even cross paths on YouTube. I mean, I found out about you, like, I kind of met you on YouTube, I guess. But I found out about you through a mutual friend. So
Yeah.
hey, they knew I fished and whatnot, and they said, check out Bass Kicking Outdoors. And so I went and subscribed to the channel, and man, that wasn't even that long ago. But you've grown a lot even since then. Probably a year and a half or so ago when Dave moved, like right before he left is when I pretty much found out about you.
Yeah, that would have been about, I think they moved in May or June of last year. So it's been about 10 months.
Yeah. So it was probably a few months before that, that I had found out about your channel.
Yeah.
You've grown. I bet you've grown 1,000 subscribers or more since then.
Yeah, I hit 1,000 in March of last year. So I guess in about a year, I've grown 1,200 more subscribers. 1,700 more subscribers. So, yeah, it's been going good. it's an interesting thing because, there's ups and downs in terms of growing something like this. But I just have a blast sharing. I don't have all the knowledge to share, so I don't do a lot of tutorial stuff like that, but I love sharing my take on products. I love sharing, just being able to share the products. People just want to look at the fishing stuff, it's crazy that I can go out fish and get 100 views, or I can go and unbox something and get 400 or 500 views in 24 hours. Because people just love to look at that stuff. And that's how I've grown the channel. But I am looking to do a lot more fishing this year and putting that on the channel. And hopefully people love that too.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. Yeah. I'm digging it for sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay.
Am I good?
Yeah, you sound great. All right, cool, man. Well, yeah, so this is a different spin. I'm just gonna kind of let you take it over from here.
Okay.
And let's see where she goes.
All right. Well, guys, I wanted to interview John because, he was doing this behind the reel thing, and I thought it was really, I love learning, and I don't know everything. And so I've been loving to learn the local stuff, and especially getting ready for kayak fishing season, tournament season. And I just wanted to interview John and get his take on it. Also, I wanted to showcase, he does a lot for our club, and I kind of wanted to showcase what he does. And maybe he can give a little bit behind the scenes into how the tournaments are, or how he actually schedules the tournaments and stuff like that, just so we can appreciate what he's doing for us some more. So let's get into it. First question we got here is, what got you into kayak fishing in the first place?
Okay, so got to drop the banner down there. You see that?
Oh yeah, that's pretty sweet.
So what got me into kayak fishing? So I got into kayak fishing, it must have been 2015. And I had seen my buddy Eric. I actually went to like middle school and high school with this guy back in Topeka. And I kept seeing him on Facebook posting pictures of him catching fish. And he was in this kayak. And, it wasn't even the greatest kayak in the world. It was like a perception or something that he was in. And he was fishing tournaments and stuff. And I'm like, man, how can I do that? And so I actually drove up there with the NECA guys, the Northeast Kansas kayak anglers, and fished an event with them. I had, obviously by that time I had purchased a kayak. I went down to Cabela's and I found me, it was an Emotion, and it was a sit inside kayak, and it was on sale for $200. It was $199. And, my wife and I were pretty dang poor at the time, new parents and stuff. And so it was like kind of a big deal for me to spend $200. And it's, when you're talking about kayaks, that's nothing, right?
Right.
But it was kind of a big deal. And we were like rocking a minivan. And so I was like, car topping this kayak on this minivan. And so we went down there and I fished this tournament with him, and I think I caught 4 fish. I didn't quite catch a limit, but it was a pretty good experience for your first tournament,
Yeah.
And I went down there and had a good time. And when I came back, I'm like, I really want to do that, more often, but I don't want to have to drive all the way to Kansas City. And I was talking to Eric about it. And I think I was trying to get somebody else to start a club, and I was like, maybe the Northeast guys could like have some events down here or something, And Eric's like, man, if you want to do something like that in Wichita, like you're just going to have to be the one to do it. And so I was like, all right, well, let's see where it goes. And it started out as just a Facebook page. And I went on like the Northeast group, and there was another group that never really turned into a club. It's really just a Facebook page, Central Kansas Kayak or something like that. And I went on there and I recruited a bunch of people from there that, were from this area, but they were on those groups, Facebook groups, and started the club up. And we met up a couple times and did just like some jackpot deals where, and there was like 4 or 5 guys that showed up, And then so the following year I was like, all right, so here's our first tournament season. That was 2016 was our first tournament season. 2015 was just kind of like started the club mid-summer, so I didn't have any real tournaments that year. But yeah, man, it was just really social media kind of introduced me to it. And my buddy, I was picking his brain, and yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it started. And Marco was one of the first guys. So if you guys have seen any of the behind the reel interviews, basically, you know, Marco was our angler of the year this year, and he was one of the first, and he's, you know, my vice president, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's been there from day one. And so yeah, no, that's kind of where it started. And it just, like I said, I didn't really want to be the one to start it, but I wanted to fish tournaments, and nobody else was going to do it, so I just kind of had to do it.
Well, you kind of answered one of the other questions I was going to ask. Why did you start the Air Capital Kayak
Oh,
Club, Anglers Club as well? And so I was you checked that one off the box, but
okay. So yeah, I mean, really, like, why did I start kayak fishing? It was, I don't know if it was necessarily with tournaments in mind at first, but it turned into tournaments very quickly. I didn't have that kayak very long before I was like, all right, tournaments, you know.
mm-hmm.
Didn't really fish a whole lot growing up, to be honest with you. So I think it's cool, like, hearing stories, you know, like yours, where you have been doing this your whole life. Yeah, I fished a little bit when I was a kid growing
Mm-hmm.
up. My dad wasn't really into that stuff. Um, my grandpa was, and he was into fishing and hunting. And I think my dad probably just got burned out on it, you know, because he always probably got drug out, you know, and
Yeah.
probably didn't enjoy it as much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a little bit of that. But I, you know, and I remember like being a pretty good age, you know, probably like a preteen, and not wanting to touch the fish. Like, I remember I was too old to be scared of unhooking a bass.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's kind of a, you know, I'm a little bit ashamed of that, but it's kind of cool to see, you know, I was probably 12 or 13 or something. And then, you know, 10 years later, or so, I don't know. Yeah, probably about 10 years later or so, I'm like starting a club, you know.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool transformation.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Yeah. I still don't want to unhook a catfish, so I'm still afraid of that. But yeah, well, that's cool. One of the other questions I had, it's kind of in the same category.
Mhm.
Um, is take us, since we talked about the club and you started the club in 15, how take us behind the scenes of how you choose the tournaments you choose for a club, and what it takes to get a permission for us to fish those days, those tournament days.
So, okay. Why I choose the locations is kind of the
Yeah,
first part of that.
yeah. I mean, because you chose 8 locations for this year. So, like, what goes through your head on choosing those? Is it stuff that you've just gathered over the past 5 years of doing this, or what makes those the places you choose?
Okay. So, I would say that I kind of just gathered feedback, I think, from the beginning, because from the beginning, I didn't really know. I was pretty new to fishing. I mean, I would fish like the little local, like in town ponds and stuff. And I really started out like in my adult fishing life, I really kind of started out catfishing. And I was like, man, this is boring. Like, I don't want to just sit here and wait for something to hit my bait. You know, I kind of have to be active and just
Yeah.
always reeling and stuff. So I really didn't know. I really didn't have a good idea of where I wanted to fish. So part of that was just feedback from the club. And I've always kind of felt like some decisions, I'll kind of make an executive decision, you know, like, but for the most part, this is our club, and I want the club members to make those decisions. And I think there's been a few times where I probably leaned on our Facebook page a little too hard, because we have like 700 people on our page, but then
Mm-hmm.
we'll only have like, what do we have, 40 guys that are signed up to fish.
Right.
So then I would weigh people's decisions that, you know, early on in the club, I didn't realize it, right? But I was weighing people's decisions that would never even fish with us.
Right.
So, but anyways, yeah, I think most of that was leaning on some of the other guys. And obviously after the first year or two, you kind of decide, you know, okay, this one's really good or this one's really bad. And really it's just talking and figuring out where to go, and trying new places too is another thing. We kind of want to keep things close to the air capital, the Wichita area.
Right.
But at the same time, this is also kind of starting the club. And I kind of like grazed over that one, I suppose. But starting the club is almost like an excuse for me to go fish. So it's like I have all these other obligations outside of this club. Obviously, I've got family and work and everything. And so it's almost like, all right, well, if I start this club and I have these tournaments, then I'm guaranteed to fish on this day, this day, this day, this day, and it's almost like, all right, well, sorry, but that's been planned for the last, 6 months now. So that's
Right.
my free day. And so part of choosing locations is trying new places, So we're going to go fish Wilson, and some of you guys are going to fish Wilson for the very first time. And that's definitely a destination lake. Is it in the air capital? No, but
yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenging one. It's a pretty big lake.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I picked those places. Like Butler, that's our next one.
Right.
Butler is one that I think we fished every year. We might have, trying to think if we skipped it. I think we might have fished it every year.
Okay.
So that's one of the only constant ones. Cali is also another one that has been constant. But all the other ones that you see on the schedule, I believe, have been added, or there's been a year or so that we haven't fished them.
Okay.
Permits, so like how I obtain permission to fish these places.
Yeah.
Contact like the KDWPT, Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism. And so there's always going to be somebody in charge of these lakes. And in the state fishing lakes, they're kind of ran by different people. So like the bigger reservoirs and stuff have their own deal. So like when I go obtain a permit from Wilson, and it's $11.50 to obtain a permit. It's not anything crazy. But you have to make sure there's not like a bunch of other tournaments going on, or they don't have something that's going to conflict with us being there.
Right.
So they want to know that we're out there. And they also want feedback on, what they catch and stuff like that. So they'll use some of that. But like the bigger reservoirs, they kind of have their own office. And then the smaller state fishing lakes, those guys have like a region. And so I might, contact the same person for Butler as I do for like El Dorado and any of those other ones in that region.
Okay, that's cool. Mm-hmm. How does it go when you're doing a tournament that you're doing with another club? So how does that decision get made?
So that's something like I really like doing that. And I really like bringing people together. And I think that at first, like when we first started, NECA fished with us a lot. And we fished with NECA a lot, right? But as this sport has grown, there's more tournaments regionally, locally, nationally. And so you see less and less of the air capital guys going up to, Northeast Kansas or whatever, right? Just because of time. If I want to fish the KBN stuff and I want to fish air capital and I want to make a Hobie BOS, a couple of those events, or, the All-American, then I'm not going to have time to go fish with those guys, right? So it's not like a personal thing. Like those guys are awesome. And I'm sure they feel the same way about us, but it's a time thing. So whenever we can get together with these other groups, I'm a big fan of it. I want to keep it going, but it does present some challenges. Like this is the first year that I paid out AOI, and I really wasn't thinking this through when I made the decision. But if we're going to go down and fish with like Southeast Kansas, they're going to host that strip pits one.
Okay.
I'd imagine since they're hosting it, they're going to get all the entry fees for it. And so like, our AOI won't earn any money on that event.
Okay.
So I like the idea of us having, Angler of the Year points awarded at those events, because that will encourage participation. but I guess what I'll probably do this year is just take it out of our club fund, and I'll
Okay.
make up for it, when we're selling like shirts and hats and decals and the leftover
Right.
proceeds from the entry fees. So I think we'll be fine there. That's the only downside I see to it, is just
Okay.
the money side of things. So I've never done the AOI payout. AOI has never gotten a check,
Okay.
in our club. So that's new, and I'm really excited to be doing that.
It is cool.
But I love fishing with the other groups. I think it's awesome. I think that's what the sport's about, is just getting together and having fun. And we can be competitive and do that as well. But I think it's just kind of cool it's a good excuse to go fishing and see some buddies.
Yeah. Well, it builds community, and that's what I mean. There's a lot of not being nice in fishing sometimes, especially on social media these days. But I really believe in the community that it can build. It's kind of one of the biggest reasons I do the channel thing. I actually thought we were paying separately for that tournament, and so like we would, the Air Capital guys pay the Air Capital, and the Southeast guys pay the Southeast. So that is an interesting tidbit.
I don't know how that would. We'll definitely have to revisit that idea. We'll definitely have to revisit that one, because that might be a good way to go. But
because all four are going to be down there.
Yeah. Flint Hills, NECA, Air Capital, Southeast. So
okay.
I think it has potential to be the biggest event in Kansas, kayak fishing event in Kansas that we've ever seen. And the last event was also in Southeast Kansas before that group was ever around, before it was ever created. That was on Big Hill Lake.
Okay.
And it was actually, technically, it was a regional event. It was a series called the Midwest Kayak Fishing Series.
Okay.
And so we had guys from like Arkansas and Nebraska and Missouri and Oklahoma, and we might have had a Colorado guy or two there, and obviously Kansas all came to this event.
Wow.
There were 70 of them. And then our club was like the hosting club. So there was two events. So you had the MKFS event and then the Air Capital event, and you could fish one or both.
Okay.
So there was two payouts, right? Kind of like what you're talking about.
Right.
So our group had like 40 there, 40 people signed up, but there was 70 at the regional one.
That's really cool.
And I think we could hit 70 down there.
Yeah, definitely, with all four, if we get some people traveling. I know that for me, that one, I've never been over to the Mindland area.
Me either.
I'm excited to go, but it is intimidating area because
there's so many places to go.
Yeah.
So many little ponds or lakes or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, you can go over there 10 times in a year and you probably wouldn't figure it all out. So, is Big Hill working the same way? Is Southeast hosting that one as well? Or are we?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was saying, that's the one we're doing together too, right?
Yep. So we're going to go down there and fish with them again. And I think worst case scenario, we'll pull some money out of the club fund. And, let's say I'm only going to base it on how many of our guys show up. So if 20 of our guys go down to Big Hill and fish, we're talking $3 per angler is what would have gone to AOI. So, you're talking $60.
Okay.
So, I'll just take $60 out of our club fund and put it in AOI.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan.
I'm just winging it, man.
So let's move on to past the club stuff, and let's get into your fishing and all that stuff. So what's your favorite style of fishing or a bait? That's the question. Something like that.
Okay. Something like that right there.
Yep, there we go. It's on the bottom.
I tried to do a little bit of homework. So, but really I didn't think about the questions too much. So this is, so my favorite style of fishing, it's weird because I want to say power fishing, but one of my favorite lures is like a jig.
Okay.
So I don't know, and I think I might have talked about this on another one of these with one of the other guys. Power fishing, or like flipping,
Okay.
basically is kind of what that is. And flipping, I guess, can be maybe a power deal. I don't know. To me, it's kind of more of a finesse presentation. You got to be a little bit more patient.
Right.
But you are also like targeting specific cover and structure, and you're going through and you find that pattern, and then you just try to duplicate that pattern. So I think it can be kind of a power thing if you're doing it right. But like a jig, a 3/8 ounce or a 1/2 ounce black and blue jig with a craw trailer on it. I love dark, black and blue colors. I even like to throw black and blue crankbaits, something a lot of people don't do, but I do that. I even had a buddy making a signature paint scheme for me at one point called the Air Capital Craw. And that was a black and blue craw pattern. And
Okay.
I slated on them. And but yeah, flipping, cranking, spinner bait, chatterbait, buzz bait, that kind of stuff.
All great lures, especially this time of year. But a spinnerbait would be my favorite. So how do you prepare for a tournament?
So that I just did this last weekend. I just did some pre-fishing out at Butler, and I didn't do any map study. I know that lake pretty well. I've been fishing that one about as long as I've been kayak fishing. That lake has changed quite a bit over the years. There used to be a bunch of lily pads out there and stuff like that. It's non-existent. There's not a single pad on that lake. Even later on in the year in the summer months when they should be in bloom, like, I don't know, several lakes, they don't have them anymore. But so I really didn't do any map study on that one. But on like a newer lake, I'll go do some map study. In the past, I've used Navionics. Now I'm using Lake Master with my Humminbird units, and I really love Lake Master. Lake Master has some really cool options that you don't get with Navionics. And that's going to be shading options. And so I can highlight different depth zones. So I can say, I want 0 to 5 foot to be red, and I want, 6 to 10 foot to be green, and then what that does, especially on a bigger body of water where there's a lot more change in depth and stuff like that.
Right.
It makes those points really stick out. It makes, those underwater islands and humps and stuff like that stick out. And that'll help you key in on some areas that you want to target, when you're pre-fishing. So I'll pick out a couple of those areas on a map, and I'll go fish those places, and I'll look for the stuff that I like to fish in those areas.
That's cool. I think that color grading, that's a pretty good game changer for I started studying Winfield, and when we were going to do that one, and that would been a pretty cool feature.
Do you not have that on your Garmin? Do you have that mapping feature?
I don't know. I haven't. I've just started getting into the Garmin stuff, and I haven't really learned it all yet. So
I will say, like, some of those units, I think you said you had a striker.
Yeah.
So I think the strikers maybe don't have the mapping. I could be wrong, but I will say that if you get into an EchoMap unit, they do come like a 93 SV or a 73 SV. They do have some really great mapping, and actually they have even more shading options than my Humminbirds do. So you can go in there and it has like almost an endless amount of color options, and you can customize your depth zones way more than you can on the Humminbird. So
time for an upgrade video, it sounds like.
Yeah, man, I know a guy if you need a Garmin.
True. I need to talk to. I don't think I can talk the wife into another one in this so soon.
Yeah, you've done a lot of upgrading this year.
Yeah, $4,000 kayak will keep you keep you from getting
And
anything else
then
for a while.
outside of like the homes, prep, so when I get out there on the water,
Mhm.
I'll look for things that I like. This time of year, I'm looking, shallow, and I might want something that's, you know, near deep water access because, just kind of depending where those fish are at. So I kind of try to make that determination with fish catches. And so I'll target a couple different areas to just try to figure out if that's where the fish are. I might mark fish on my electronics. As I said, I'm running Humminbird, and I have a really, really cool piece of technology on the boat this year with the Mega 360. And what that allows me to do is actually scan 360 degrees around the boat. And so it's like a side imaging picture. So,
Mhm.
but it'll scan, 125 feet out in every direction, and it'll give me just a really, it will paint me a picture of what it looks like underneath the boat and all around the boat. So I can see, if there's a brush pile here, I may be able to see it sticking out of the water, but anything underneath, especially in the dirty water around here, I can't see. There might be
Right.
another brush pile further on out that you don't see, and that might be what the fish are holding on. That, so like that sort of thing, keying in on your electronics, is a big thing. And like I got on a couple good fish out there at Butler when I was pre-fishing, and I decided to back off of them. So I think that's another thing. Like you don't want to go out there and catch them all before the tournament. Just get enough information, to put together a game plan.
Yeah. Put
And it,
together a few spots.
yep, yep.
Do you think that's this is a curveball question here, but do you think that is super important in small bodies of water like that? Just, I mean, multiple spots, because I mean, if we get as many anglers as we have memberships, I mean, that's going to be a pretty full lake, and might not be the only ones on it either. So,
You know, I don't know. Like my first reaction to that question is it's more important on a bigger body of water. And the reason I say that is because I think that you can, in a bigger body of water, those fish can be way more spread out. So,
right,
you know, if we're talking like several thousand acres, um, there may be just like a huge chunk of the lake that's not holding fish.
right,
So you could fish the heck out of it and it might look juicy and then you could go further down the lake and fish the same stuff. It looks like the same stuff, and that's where they're at. So, but to your point, I think that, yeah, on a smaller body of water, um, maybe not spots so much as um, like patterns,
right,
so if you find a spot and it's grass or it's wood or it's deep or it's shallow, then being able to know where another spot like that is, and
right.
being able to like put that pattern together. So I wouldn't think about spots as much as like that pattern, that
Okay,
piece of cover, that type of structure.
it's a good point. Um, my question was, how do you dissect, or how does a big body of water change versus a small body of water? And you covered that a little bit there.
Okay.
Um, but does that change your approach to preparing for a tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would. On a bigger body of water, I may not want to pedal the whole lake.
Right.
So I'll put together some spots on the map, but those spots are probably going to be really spread out.
Okay.
So I'll want to hit, like on El Dorado, I might want to go check out Five Fingers down by the dam, and then I might want to go clear up to the marina, and then I might want to go up by Sailboat Cove, and then I want to might, go hit, you know, one of the points out in the middle of the lake. And there's no way I'm going to hit all those spots in one day.
Right.
So I'm not saving that for tournament day. On tournament day, I'm pretty much going to hunker down on one area. On a small lake, I'll go all over the place and I'll put, go into that power fishing mode, where I'm just searching. And on a smaller body of water, like, those state fishing lakes, 100, 200
Mhm.
acres, I mean, you could pedal that thing 3 or 4 times if you really
Yeah.
wanted to.
No, I remember last year we all lost you. We didn't know where you went on Butler. You had went up the creek side, so to speak.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it doesn't go very far back in there, but you can get up the creek, and
Yeah, I remember I went about halfway and I still didn't see you that day. Man, maybe not halfway. I mean, I went. There's a big round tree I went to and turned around. I got hooked in it. I needed to get out of that area.
yeah. Yeah, I
But
caught some last year. That was more in the summer months, I believe.
it was, yeah.
July, or
I think it was July.
yeah, it was kind of a stupid time of year to be out there, I guess. But
It was hot. It got hot that day.
yeah, it sure worked for our buddy Casual Bass Guy, though. I mean, he
Yeah.
hooked into a big one.
Yeah, it did.
I caught some out on the main lake, and then I did catch a few up the creek as well. There's a lot of grass in that lake later on in the year. You know, it's gets real green.
Well, hopefully it turns out better for me this year than last year. I had 0 that time.
Yeah, that happens.
So how has Go ahead, John.
Oh, I've zeroed on Butler before.
Yeah. Well, it's more of a lunker. I mean, you know, there's bigger fish and not as many of them, really, is there? I mean, that's what it's considered, that type of lake.
Yeah. It's a pretty good average, size as far as the fish that you're catching. You have a pretty good average. But yeah, I guess I don't know for sure that this still holds true, but at one point it was had the highest lunker rating in the state. So per acre, there's more big fish in it than any other lake in the state.
That's pretty cool. So how has technology changed your approach? Or you actually covered this a little bit. You told us you're using the Mega 360 this year. And you've talked about the electronics in terms of the navionics or stuff like that. But has it changed your approach over the last 5 years?
I would say yes. I really try not to lean on it too much. I think that it's a tool on your belt, and I think that if it's the only tool you use, it's a bad thing. So like I'll have that stuff on, and I'll catch fish with it. Last year out at Lion State Fishing Lake, this definitely isn't a power presentation, but I was marking fish on the graph. I ended up catching one on a spinnerbait, so there's my power presentation. But then that keyed me into an area, and I decided I want to pay attention to that area, and I started catching them out a little bit deeper off of that shallow spinnerbait, bite, and started catching them on a drop shot.
Okay.
So, I think that, I saw some fish on the graph, and I was like, all right, well, I'll spend a little bit of time here. Hooked 1, hooked 2, hooked 3. And, if I would have just kept throwing that spinnerbait, then I probably never would have got a bite. So technology has changed my approach by just giving me more information instead of fishing blind. I'll pay attention to it, but sometimes, if you pay too much attention to it, you can get sucked in. Had I not caught one of those drop shot fish, and I was just hard headed and say, oh, they're still there, I'm just going to sit here until they bite, they may never bite.
Right.
So it's changed. It has changed my approach. It's changed a little bit as far as, how I prepare for a tournament. And it's also changed how I fish, in a tournament, I suppose, because I didn't have that information before.
Right.
I would literally, before I had a graph, I would take my anchor, and that's how I would determine what type of depth I was in. And I'd let my anchor down, and then I would kind of count off the length of rope that I had above the water and determine how deep I was in. Or I'd take my paddle, and if, I could hit the bottom with my paddle, then I'd, okay, I'm in 6 foot, I'm in 8 foot. And I did that a lot before I had a graph.
There you go. You don't need a graph. Just use your paddle.
But the contours are nice. Like, you don't get that information from a paddle or an anchor. So I think that information helps you figure out, where, or helps you have an idea of where you think they might be.
Yeah, it can help you find. I know I was fishing last year and I was just drifting across the lake at one point and I kept getting bites at 9 feet. And I wouldn't have known that without my graph. Um, that's where, I mean, I was drifting over, from anywhere from 7 to 13 feet, but the bite always came at 9 feet. And so
Mm.
that allowed me to work that pattern back and forth and kind of come across that 9 foot area and catch fish right there every time. So
That's a great example of what I was talking about with, not paying too much attention, to that information. Cause you take that 9 foot and you just start targeting those areas. If you'd have paid, too much attention to it, then you'd have maybe just hunkered down in that one spot.
right, which I didn't. Yeah, I just kept drifting. It was a pretty windy day, and I just kind of set myself up where I could let the wind push me, and I'd reset and let the wind push me, and then kind of fish over that spot that ended
Yeah.
up, and it caught probably 4 or 5 fish at around 9 feet, and so it's a pretty good pattern that I'd found.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully I answered that question. I think
Yeah.
I sure tried to.
Well, you talked about the technology, beforehand too, and what you were using already. So
The
that's a good
other
one.
the other thing too, and I mentioned this on one of the others or somebody else did, um, my kayak has a lot of technology built into it just with the drive and, all the integrated track systems and stuff like that. I mean, but
Mhm.
my drive alone, just not having to paddle anymore is I hate to use the word, but it's a game changer, man. It just completely changes the way that I fish and it makes me way more productive. So I think that man, I think if I had to do away with one or the other, I'd do away with the electronics before that pedal drive.
That's a cool point or a cool analogy, or I guess looking at each one. Um, it definitely is hard. Like, I mean, I got the Bonafide RS 117, so I was paddling for the first couple of years while I was learning this kayak stuff, and I definitely feel spoiled now that I'm able to get the autopilot with spot lock because paddle, keeping yourself in position is so important to hit the spot where you think the fish are at.
Mhm.
And with your pedal drive or with a motor at this point, it allows you to fish more. I mean, and that's gonna might equal one or two more catches on a, for a guy being able to get the line in the water a little bit more. And so that
Yeah,
technology really helps.
absolutely. Yeah. Positioning yourself is a big thing.
I know that was the most frustrating part of beginning kayak fishing. It's like, I just want to sit here and catch this fish or
Yep.
throw at this spot. And yeah, definitely get that.
If I put a motor on my boat, there's no way I'd put a motor on my boat without spot lock. I think, especially if you got a pedal drive already. Now I could
Right.
see it maybe on a paddle kayak, but I have a pedal drive kayak. If I were to add a motor, it'd have to have spot lock. Because my feet, my legs don't really get tired from pedaling.
Right.
I mean, we walk on our feet all day. It's not like paddling. Man, my arms, my shoulders, my back would be sore, after 8 hours of that. But after a day of pedaling, I don't even notice it.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that, I don't think that the motors give more advantage of is, I mean, it depends on the motor, but like the spot or like the Old Town Autopilot, I still think a guy's going to be able to I mean, I think I've seen YouTube videos on this, but I think you can out pedal it.
Yeah.
Maybe not for an extended period of time. Obviously, it gives you maybe more range,
Mm.
um, but or at least more range quicker, sustained range. But I don't think it. I think a guy can out pedal it for sure. It doesn't. I mean, 3.5 miles per hour, 4 is not super fast. So
Yeah. No, yeah, I could. Hey, if you want to race, we can put it to the test at Butler.
yeah, let's do it. That'll be a that'll be a whole YouTube video right there. So all right, let's move on and check out the next question here. What kind of cover or structure do you target most frequently?
So, so there's a couple different pieces of, um, cover, and structure. So the way I understand it, and maybe I have it backwards, but structure is going to be stuff that's there, that's not going anywhere. Cover is going to be, stuff that can come and go, like a brush pile or something like that. Structure is going to be more like a depth change or, something. So, cover, I would say, cover is like brush piles,
Mm-hmm.
um, I like to fish a lot of I like to fish grass quite a bit. So if I'm running like moving baits, maybe not crankbaits as much in this area, but spinner baits, chatter baits, top water around grass is something that I feel confident doing, and I catch fish, frequently in those areas. Brush piles, any sort of wood, lay downs, whatever, just anything that those fish, I've caught fish. This was an odd one, but I flipped a jig into a dumpster, and it had a dumpster that was underwater. It was in town, obviously, and it was probably a place I wasn't supposed to be fishing.
Those are the
But
best.
yeah, and my jig hits that thing, and just imagine one of those big dumpsters, just boom, makes this loud
Mm-hmm.
noise, and it barely hits the bottom, and I boom, automatically he hits it. And so anything like that, any sort of lay down, I guess, anything that those fish can gravitate to. In this area, it's going to be wood mainly.
Yeah, I watched at Pickwick. I watched Scott Martin catch some off picnic tables that were underwater.
Mhm. And you've seen some stuff recently, I think it was Mikey Balls was talking about trash mats
Mm-hmm.
or somebody, where you get all this rain and this runoff, and, us humans, we just can't seem to keep this place clean. We just
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody the other day, and you know, he had other issues, obviously. But yeah, he's got this bag in his hand. He just throws it, or you see people driving down the road and they got like a McDonald's bag full of crap, and they'll just throw it out the window.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's one of the things that it's hard to see when you're fishing around. You're fishing around places and you see all that crap, and
mhm.
um, try to pick up what I can. It's
That stuff
definitely
will end up in the lake, and those fish will use it as a cover, and
yeah,
they'll get under it, and there's guys that'll punch that stuff. Kind of crazy.
yeah. Punch right through a McDonald's bag. There you go.
Yeah. I don't fish a lot of deep stuff. Deep for me is probably 10 plus, 10, 15, would probably be the deepest that I feel comfortable fishing. Um,
But
man,
that's pretty much all of Butler almost.
yeah, there it gets deep, 20 plus out in the middle there, but I've never fished that I never fished it out there, but there's not a lot of real deep stuff around here, especially in the smaller lakes. But
Right.
I may not have ever, at least in this area, ever caught a fish over 20 foot.
So how do you? No, hold on. That's the wrong one. So what is your go-to lure when fishing is tough?
So that one is going to be, I feel like I'm kind of, and maybe I have more than one, but if I could answer with a technique, I would say flipping. So that could be a jig, or that could be a Texas rig creature bait, I guess.
Okay.
The creature bait's kind of new. Like, I've had the biz baits. Check those out, guys. We do also have a discount code for biz baits. So go to bizbaits.com and use Air Kayak 20. They give us 20% off. They got some really good stuff, and they're stanky, real garlicky, and I think in the muddy water that does make a difference. But I like flipping that thing. Uh, well, I don't know if you'd call it Texas rigged. I've started to use a flipping hook, and that's actually new for me.
Okay.
I've kind of in the past always just thrown the jig, but in last year when I was flipping this creature bait, I was running an EWG,
Okay.
uh, and I don't know that I was like, missing a lot of bites. I don't really recall, but I started using a flipping hook recently, and I feel like I've gotten some pretty good hookups. So that's kind of my go-to, along with a jig. And then so the other one would probably be like a chatterbait or a spinnerbait, in those grass areas. Or I feel pretty confident square billing or cranking riprap. But if I had to pick one, it would be flipping. And right now, if it was right now in this very moment in time, it would be a Biz Baits Biz Bug on a flipping hook with a 3/8 ounce R&P tungsten weight. I've been using the 6 cents flipping hooks.
6 cents. They got some good stuff. I like their stuff.
They got everything, man.
They do. You've been unboxing a few of those bags I've seen.
Yeah. I've been pretty impressed with them. I've got 2 of them so far, and I've been impressed with them. I've caught a few fish on the stuff I've got.
Yeah, a lot of good crankbaits that they got.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep yourself grounded when things aren't going your way on the water?
So that one, how do I do it? I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you ever get frustrated on the water?
I think that I really don't very often. I really don't. And I don't know. I think it's partly just because I'm happy to be out there. Mm-hmm. And like when I was pre-fishing, that day started out pretty dang rough. I was getting hung up in everything. The wind was kind of getting to me, and I don't remember. I just remember there were several things that I could have got, upset about, and I could have let it affect, my attitude. And I think that it comes kind of natural. I think in other aspects of my life, I let things get to me quicker, but when I'm on the water, it's like, that's my peace, and that's my place where, man, I'm, like I just got hung up, but dude, I'm on the water.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I do it, but I kind of have a weird, like, I look back on some of my videos, cause I've been videoing myself on the water, and I'm kind of an odd creature on the water. Like I don't like talk to myself. Like I'm just silent. I just like, I don't know. It's just, and you see other people and they're like getting stoked when they're catching fish, and like I'm not even saying a word.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I don't know. I'm just so in the moment that I'm like, by the time I get the fish and put it on the board, then I'm like, oh man, that's all,
Yeah.
But it's kind of an odd deal. When I was talking to some of the other guys, obviously I've gotten a chance to find out what these other guys do, and I'm like, I'm way different than you, on the water. But I don't really get myself too upset. I've lost a lot of tournaments. In fact, I've never won one. And so I think that's part of it too. I go into it with pretty low expectations, and going back to why I started the club is just a reason, an excuse to fish.
Yeah. So I'm jumping ahead. I won't ask that question yet.
Okay.
So take me back to a day on the water when your pattern didn't hold, but you found a way to put fish in the boat.
Okay. So I was thinking about this one a little bit, and I don't know why this one popped into my head, but it did. I'm sure there's probably other examples, but to me, this is one that stood out. And we were at oh man, I just drew a blank. Gary State Fishing Lake. And this has been several years ago, so it's kind of weird that this one popped into my head. But I think I caught 5 fish that day. That was it. I only caught 5. And I had like 2 or 3, and I had a good one, like 17 or 18, something like that. And so it kind of goes back to one of these other questions you've asked me, but I started fishing my strengths. Like I caught one on a chatterbait. I may have caught 2 of them, the first 2 on a chatterbait. And then after that, like I tried following the chatterbait bite, and I just couldn't duplicate it. It's just maybe a fluke that I caught those 2 on the same bait.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't figure out the chatterbait thing. So I went to a jig. I went to a 3/8 ounce, Arky style head, and I just started flipping. And I caught my last fish probably within 20 minutes, and I barely made it back to weigh in. And so that would be a time when my pattern didn't hold, but what I did, how I got through that was I just started fishing my strengths.
That's cool. Did you remember what you got at that tournament? What place?
I got fifth.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a few fifths. I have a few, seconds and thirds and fourths, but man, no number one. So
No, number
I'm
one.
I'm putting that I'm gonna put that one on the goal for the year.
Think that's the number one goal for the year, get one tournament win?
AOY.
AOY or bust?
Yeah, I'm going for AOY, but I want a first place.
Okay.
I guess if I did AOY without a first place finish, I'd be okay with that too.
That would probably be pretty challenging.
Well, it would, especially with the new rule. With the new,
Right.
so we're doing 100 for first place, and then second place will jump down, not to 99 but 98. So, I mean, if somebody gets a couple first places, he's going to be hard to beat, unless
Yeah.
he just flops on the other ones.
Yeah.
He or
Yeah.
she.
Maybe 5 seconds will get a win.
Do what?
I said 5 second place finishes will get you a win.
Yeah, maybe.
So, what does fishing mean to you, and how do you relate fishing to other aspects of your life?
I guess I kind of touched on it a little bit, but um, it's just my escape. It's my peace. It's where I clear my head. It's and it's not a place I go to think about things or reflect on things. It's a place where I go to just completely unload everything off of my shoulders. When I step into the water, when I step onto the bank, when I step into the boat, um, everything else disappears. Everything. I have no worries. I have no bills. I have no problems. Everything is gone. It's my fix.
Yeah.
It's I think about it all the time. I dream about it. I oh man, I got to have this lure. I got to have this rod. And there's so many different aspects of fishing that aren't even fishing that you can get excited about.
Yeah.
And, watching some guy unbox a freaking lure, like that's how bad we got it. Like there are millions of people that because they can't be fishing right now, they want to watch you unbox something they'll never get a touch. Like,
Yeah.
like, we're addicted.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I totally can see that. Or I mean, somebody'd rather watch my unboxing video than me catch a fish.
yeah. So, and how can I relate fishing to other aspects of my life? I think that fishing has taught me to be more patient, which I'm not very good at doing unless I'm on the water. Like if I'm on the water, I'm the most patient person in the world. But if I'm at home and I have things that are stressing me out, sometimes I'm not so patient. So I think that it has helped me be more patient. It has helped me to be more. I'm drawing a blank, but I don't know. I think in life, we have challenges, and I think that once you deal with these challenges on the water, you can look back and maybe you don't realize it at the time, but you can see like, okay, well, this wasn't working, so instead of just doing the same thing over and over again, I tried something different. So maybe as like younger people, that haven't learned those lessons, like that could definitely be helpful to stop beating your head against a wall, or just buckle down and keep doing what you know how to do.
Yeah, it's amazing what fishing can teach because first of all, I totally agree with you. Uh, it gives you an escape. Like when I'm on the water, it's just like you said, it's everything else goes away, and it doesn't
Mhm.
even you don't have to be catching something. I mean, sometimes it's frustrating when you're not catching something, especially probably in a tournament setting when when you're being competitive. But it definitely, I mean, it's just a day on the water. It beats a day on land, and
Mhm.
so I totally get that, and it really gives an aspect of learning about yourself. I think, and then you can apply those lessons.
Yeah, I think something too, like, it helps you, set goals for yourself, and something that I have learned that I do it on the water, and I do it off the water, and I do it in everyday life. I do it at work, I do it at home, but I set these goals for myself, and I may have an end goal, and my end goal may be way up here. But if that's the only goal I have, then I'm just gonna be constantly letting myself down, because
Right.
that goal may be something that I'm not gonna achieve for years from now, right? Because
Right.
I wanna be a millionaire, right? So it's like, if that's my goal, if that's my only goal, or I wanna be a millionaire, then anything less of that is a failure.
Right.
So I gotta have all these little goals that are leading up to that. And so the first goal of the day is to catch a fish. And, the second goal of the day is to catch another fish. And my first 5 goals are to catch a fish. And depending on what size those fish are, my next goal is to, cull that fish, or, if I catch that fish on a certain piece of cover. So like, my goals may change. See if I can duplicate this pattern. Like, all these little goals that I have uh, are going to lead to that tournament win, you know, and,
Yeah.
even if I don't achieve that tournament win, I can still be proud of all the goals that I, accomplished on the way there. Just like, if I don't ever become a millionaire, like, well, if I end up with, um, 3/4 of a million, is that a failure?
Right.
Hell
I
no.
I love that because I mean we spend so much time in life chasing the end goal and forget about the journey and being happy along the way. I mean, I get
Yeah.
caught up in that chasing a YouTube number, and
Mhm.
I want the next 1,000 or I want 10,000 or and I need to enjoy the 2,700 I have and the fact that I have an audience that wants to see what I have to offer, and enjoy the journey. And I think that's a good, yeah, that's awesome. John's dropping knowledge on us, guys.
Boom.
So we've talked about the fishing, and I added a few extra questions that
Okay.
actually I think one we already talked about, but what's one life goal, or if you want to attach it, maybe a YouTube goal for this year, maybe both. What's what do you got?
Um, YouTube goal. Okay. YouTube goal is to get monetized, and that's not really like a money thing. Like, I don't think I'm gonna, make a bunch of money, but it's a goal. 1,000 subscribers, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 1,000 subscribers,
Yep.
4,000 watch hours,
So hit that
and
hit that subscribe button, guys.
hit that subscribe button. Make sure you
Hit-
watch the whole thing, guys. That really helps me out. I'm trying to get those watch hours up. These podcasts are really doing a good job of bringing in those watch hours. So I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you subscribe. I'm paying attention to my stats and stuff, and those are helping me set those little goals. Um, but my stats are telling me that I got like 80% of my viewers are not even subscribed. So if I have 285, I think right now, then I don't know what is, that's probably, I should have 700, right? Or something, right?
right.
So, I don't know. I'm horrible at math, so I may be way off. But if you guys all subscribe, then I'm going to be closer to achieving my goal. But maybe also something that I think that, I try to do is hold myself accountable. I'm really good at holding myself accountable. I feel like if I'm doing something wrong, I'm gonna know about it. That you're not gonna have to tell me that I did something wrong. Like, I'm gonna know before anyone else. But some of those stats are telling me that I'm not doing a good enough job on YouTube. So, I need to figure out what I need to do better, in order to get more subscribers. So, goal for YouTube is to hit that monetization, deal. Um, Goal for the club is to gain, like, as a club president, is to gain more anglers. So I think the 40, 41 anglers that we've had subscribe, or sign up this year, paid members that are committing to fishing this series. That's big. That's an accomplishment. We'll have more anglers sign up over, throughout the year. I know it always happens that way, but we've got guys that, maybe they don't know their schedule yet. And so they haven't, committed, but so I think that that's already a win out the gate. And then for the club, and then I just want to see people catch personal bests. I want to see people go out there and become better anglers and have fun. And that's why I started this thing. But so my personal goal is first I want a first place trophy, and I want angler of the year. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I don't get it, it's all good. But I don't know that I've ever gone into the season with a goal of winning an event or angler of the year. I don't think I ever have.
Well, it's good to step up the goals.
Yeah.
Move the needle a little bit. Yeah, I love all that. I love growing community. So I love our club. This is my first year in it, and so I'm excited to see where it goes. And I love competition always. I grew up golfing in high school, and baseball and basketball from 5 and 6 all the way up. So competition is something I love, and so I'm excited to add that back to my life with a little bit of kayak tournaments. So
yeah, I always did sports. 5 years old, started playing basketball. That was always my sport, but I did baseball, did a little bit of football, not much, but basketball was always my thing. And I've always kind of had that competitive, I guess, attitude or whatever. But on the water, I don't know that I've really felt like I've been competitive, but I think I'm ready to be competitive on the water now.
That's awesome. Well, you answered the last question, because that was what your tourney goals are. So yeah, that's all I have. What else do you think, John?
How about this one?
Okay.
So go ahead.
You want me to answer this?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here.
What is one thing you would like to know about your favorite angler or biggest competition? So this was one that I added to my question list, right? For the Behind the Reel podcast. And the idea behind this is, if you had, do you have a favorite angler? I'll start by that.
I like Scott Martin. He's probably my favorite.
So if you had Scott Martin and you had him right here, I'm Scott Martin, right? And Scott Martin says, Lance, I will answer one question for you and one question only.
Yeah, I feel like that's tough.
It is tough.
I would ask.
So like, all these questions that you asked me are kind of like meant to get behind the reel, right? So, if you're going to talk to Scott Martin, you're going to want to know like something that keys you in on why he's so good at catching fish. You know what I mean?
I would ask him why. I don't know, man. I'm unprepared for this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you could ask one question that, anybody like that has all that knowledge.
Yeah.
Why don't you answer first, and I'll think something.
Okay, so my answer is more about tourney prep. And so especially with like a Scott Martin, or like an Elite Series angler that are fishing much bigger bodies of water.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, and I know they do a lot of idling and side imaging, and they do a lot of just riding around and not even have a lure in the water. But I want to know how they determine the areas that they're fishing. So I want to know when I'm taking that Lake Master map, I want to watch them do that. I want to watch them and figure out how they get to those areas, those pre-fishing areas. Not even necessarily, they may get to those areas and never catch a fish, right? Yeah. And they may never fish them in the tournament. But I want to know how they get there, so that might be a loaded question, but I might
Well, go ahead.
I might fish that same spot if I got to it, but when I'm looking at that map, I may not have ever even said, "Man, that looks like a good spot."
Yeah. Well, I think my question would be why do you choose the lure that
Mhm.
you do for the spot you're in? I mean, I watched him the other day on Pickwick, and he had it going until that third day. He messed up, and those first 2 days were pretty phenomenal that he had, and they had no practice basically. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, he's going basically doing what you're talking about. He went and found those spots, and then found the right lure. And so, I know lures have a lot to do with time of the year too. But why did he choose the ones he chose? I think that would be one of my biggest questions, because you can't throw. I mean, you can throw every lure, but you really can't be effective throwing every lure in your bag. So, um, why did he choose 3 lures that he threw? I think that'd be one of my questions for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man.
Another
Go ahead.
either that or I'd go with more of a personal thing, and
Mhm.
what drives him to be do it professionally, like what drives him to keep going. Because when you accomplish so much, he has a YouTube channel like he has. He doesn't have to do it for money. He does it you know for chasing the sport. And so I just kind of the behind the scenes of what's his drive. I think that would, because we all have something we're driving, or a goal we want to achieve, but sometimes we lack the drive to get there. And so I think that would be a cool answer to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I think guys like that, obviously they're competitive. They have that competitive nature, I think. His dad did it, right? So part
Right.
of that introduction uh probably came from dad and wanting to be like dad, and but some of it's probably like just in his blood,
Yeah.
like that competitive, I got to be better. And I think that as bass anglers or as anglers in general, we always can be better. I think that's one thing that I didn't touch on that I think draws me to fishing, is that I understand that I will never master fishing. Nobody will.
Right.
Scott Martin has not mastered fishing.
Right.
You know, David Dudley has not mastered fishing. If you look at some of the best bass anglers ever to exist, and they'll go out and they will struggle. There
Yeah.
will be days where they do horrible in a tournament, or so I think that keeps us grounded, that keeps us humble. And if you have that mentality in life, this kind of goes back to that question. If you have that mentality in life that I'm not perfect, that I always have room to improve, I can always be a better dad, I can always be a better father, I can always be a better employee, I can always whatever, right?
Hmm.
um if you have that mentality in life, you will succeed. But if you get complacent and you win first place trophies and you win Angler of the Year and you let it go to your head, and that can be devastating,
Yeah.
to how you fish in the future, or how you handle things in the future at your job, or in your marriage or whatever, right?
Right.
So I think if you don't constantly try to improve yourself, then you've already failed.
Yeah. I think that goes for, like you said, goes for fishing and real life. It's a good parallel.
Yeah. But well, man, I appreciate you for coming on here. I think I told you this, but I really did not intend for these questions to be directed towards me. So I'm
Yeah.
humbled that you thought that was a good idea. I'm humbled that you think other people will enjoy this. I guess we'll find out once we air this thing and see how many views and stuff that we get. Um, so I appreciate you coming on here and being a part of the podcast, being a part of the channel. I want everybody to go out and go to his channel. I'm assuming all 285 of you are probably already subscribed to Bass Kicking Outdoors, but if you're not, go check his channel out. He's got some cool stuff. If you're looking to get some new tackle, some new gear, he just might have a video showing you, um, an unboxing or what he thinks of it, or maybe even some on the water stuff. And he definitely is going to be doing some kayak stuff, and
Yep.
he's got some cool pond fishing videos with our boy Fat Basses. And
Yep.
I think we're going to team up. I think at some point
Yeah,
this year.
definitely. We'll put something together and do some challenge videos or something with our boxes we get or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I know I get a lot of people wanting to, like, not everyone watches them as well, but people do still like to see me fish. And so
Yeah.
I think I want to try to take some of the lures that I'm getting in these mystery boxes, go catch some fish with them. And the video I just did, I allowed the subscribers to choose 3 lures out of the box. Actually, I did 2 boxes, and I'm going to go try to do a challenge video here. Probably a couple weeks, since I got a tournament this weekend, but put together that video and kind of do a little something different. So
Nice. Yeah. No, I think mixing it up and trying new things, and that's what's kind of cool about the YouTube channel too. It's almost like an excuse, right? Kind of
yeah.
like starting the club. It's it's an excuse to go fish. Man, it's sorry, honey, I had to buy $300 worth of tackle so I could open it on
Yeah.
camera. I just got to give the people what they want.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide what the next reel is going to be. So looking for what reel I'm going to unbox next. So
My newest addition was the SLX DC. I didn't spring for the Curado, but it's my first DC reel, and so far so good. I like it.
I love the DC. I have an SLX DC reel, and it's one of my favorites. So
yeah, I'm all Shimano bait casting. I'm all Shimano right now.
okay,
I've got
I'm looking at a Daiwa next.
Yeah.
I got the CT casting reel that came out at ICAST last year, and I absolutely love it. And so I'm looking at one that's a little bit higher end than that one.
Yeah. I've got I take it back. I do have one bait casting Daiwa, and it is it's on my swim bait rod. I never throw it. It's really my pike rod. I got into catching some pike out at Kingman and got all into it and had a custom rod built, and I don't ever use it, but it's a what is that? It's a Tatula HD 200, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's a few years old, but it's one of the kind of the tried and true, like beginner, swim bait reels in that.
That's sweet. Yeah, I think the one I'm looking at is I have a Tatula. That's the CT casting reel that I got.
Mm-hmm. Those are nice. I mean,
pretty good value, $130, and so I thought ended up being pretty good. I got it on the Guggen go-to rod. So
nice. Do you have anything coming up on the channel you want to let people know about, or anything like that? Do you have any cool videos or projects you're working on?
Probably I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do some more modifications to the trailer, the kayak trailer. Nice. And so kind of want to modify it to fit the new Old Town a little bit better. I will be bringing in a new reel to do an unboxing on, and then probably just stay tuned for the tournament stuff, because I'm going to try to do some tournament, do the tournament videos and pre-fishing for Wilson, but I won't let pre-fishing come out until after we do the tournament. So
you haven't seen mine yet. Hey, I just might drop it at like 4:00 on Saturday, and
well, me and Joel put it on the pod or on the radio on the way there. Then
yeah, if I come away with the win, I'll look like a real badass. But if I do horrible, I'll just look like a jerk.
Yeah, we'll just follow you around and fish 100 yards away from you and catch them.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I would just say if anybody of you watching that want to still sign up for the club, you might miss one tournament, but get signed up. We got 2 in May and 1 in June and 2 in July coming up. So
yeah, definitely. If you guys are in the area, check it out. Air Capital Kayak Anglers on Facebook, aircapitalkayakanglers.com. Thanks to my guy Lance over here. He's running the website as well. So I bug him and I'm like, hey man, can you add this to the website? Can you add this to the website? Hey, can you do? Yeah. So I appreciate it. it's nice to have people that you can lean on. But like you said, this is a community, and that's what it's going to take to run this club. It's not something I can do by myself. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on as a new member and taking on that responsibility. And yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And that is helpful because not everybody in the club is a Facebook, person. So there's people that use that as, how to figure out when and where and all that good stuff. So
Yep.
appreciate that. Yeah, guys. Well, I had fun. This was awesome. We're going to have to figure out how to do this again. This podcast thing, this whole format here is pretty cool. And this might be a good idea for like a head-to-head unboxing where you do one and I do the other. And
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. We could do it
Yeah.
lure for lure.
I like it. I like that idea. We'll do it.
So, all right, guys. Well, I just want to thank you guys all for watching the video. Go check him out. Oh, that way. Go check him out at Bass Kicking Outdoors on YouTube.
YouTube, Facebook, YouTube, Facebook, website, get some apparel.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah. Heck yeah, man. I'm going to have to grab one of those. So, guys, thank you. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, click that bell. That way you can see the next one. And we'll see you guys on the next one.